It is going to make me happy to see Rod Higdon. He's going to be our first speaker to talk about Delta Pine Bear cotton varieties.
Yeah, I want to thank the University of Florida for putting this together. I'll give you an overview of Delta Pine varieties for 2021. I'm gonna go through our top 5 for this part of the world. They all have a great fit for South Alabama and North Florida. It'll be 1646, obviously, 2055, 2038, our 1840, and our early mid 2020. Those will be the top 5 that I'll recommend in our part of the world. And I'll back up and go through some of them in a little more detail. 1646 obviously has been our #1 variety, and based on what we've booked so far for 21, will continue to be our #1 variety going forward. Great fit, excellent yields. It's always in our plots and extension plots, always either the top or in the top group of hybrids with no significant difference. Excellent variety, really good quality. Just one of those fail-proof varieties that Delta Pines had, from 555 to 1050 to 1555 and that type of thing. But 1646 dry land irrigated, really aggressive PIX management on that variety. And we've seen that over the years. If you let it get head high, you're not going to be happy with it at all. There's going to be nothing on the plant but in the very top. Stand on it with picks, really, really aggressive. The more picks you put to manage that height of that variety, the happier you'll be. Like I said, great quality, 1646. We see it trending down, even though it's still our #1 variety. A lot of full season stuff's going to go into 2055, and that'll be the next one I'll talk about. And Libby, if I run out of time, just stop me. But 2055.
I want you to keep talking. Go. You're
2055,
fine.
a very full season variety. It's a Bogard 3 variety, where 1646 is a Bogard 2. So one of the reasons we're trying, we're turning away from 46. Excellent staple on 2055. It'll get up 38 to 40, like 1646. Excuse me. I kind of maybe portray it as a 1646 improved with the Bogard 3 in it as well. It's got a very small seed, so make sure the ground's warm when you plant it. But it had a great year last year. Yields were excellent on 2055. It's definitely got a fit in South Alabama and North Florida. 2038, I would put that variety in high yield environments. I wouldn't put it on bad or marginal dirt. It's a big yielder. 2038's out yielded 1646 in a lot of our plots. It's a mid to full. It's not as full as 2055 or 1646. It is bacterial blight resistant. Got good turnout on 2038. Definitely got a fit in our geography. And last year we didn't have a lot of supply of 2055 or 2038. This year we do. That second year we seem to close the gap on supply. So 2038, good yielding. What farmers consider their better dirt, I'd put it there. 1840, just the opposite, is a mid full. I'd put 1840 on what I would consider my worst dirt. It kind of fits where the old 1137 or 1538 fit. We said, hey, put this on your sandier dirt, your lighter dirt, anything marginal, and we've all got that on our farms. I guess I'm not new to this, but I made a mistake and cut myself off. But we've all got dirt on our farm where we consider marginal or some of our worst dirt. That's where 1840 fits. It's still a big plant. You gotta fix it. Probably not to the level you do the 2055, 2038, and 1646, but 1840, where you need to get a stalk on that marginal land. That's the one I'd go with. And we planted a lot of it in North Florida and South Alabama. It's had 2 good years. So 1840. The last one I mentioned was 2020. We planted a lot of 09, 12, and 15, 18. There have been several early mids that Delta Pines had. 2020 is the best one that I've seen come along in a long time. It fits across soil types. It's bacterial blight resistant. I say moderate PGR management on 2020, but if you're going, I think more wheat acres got planted this year. if you're going to replant cotton or you're going behind wheat, or you want to plant something early and get it off for cattle or grazing, 2020 is a great choice. Very little supply last year. What we saw had a good year. Every farmer I had that planted it loved it. More supply this year of 2020. We've also got 2012 if you wanted a real early variety. And it's got to fit down here as well, but I'd lean toward 2020 as my first choice on an early variety. Two I'll mention and I'll be done. We numbered several 21 varieties in December. The two that will fit our part of the world, and there will be very limited supply in 21 of these. I think I've only got a few hundred bags of each one. If you're lucky enough to get a few bags, I try both of them. 21, 27 is an early, I'd say an early mid. It's got big, it's a big yielding variety like 2038, a little earlier in maturity. A good variety, but I mean, like I said, I guess the good thing is nobody can get a bunch of it. Get a planter full, try it. It fits pretty good dirt. It fits at a high yield environment like 2038, 21, 27. Our next entry into the nematode market is 2141. It's a root knot reniform candidate. We planted it on James Marshall's farm last year, and it was about 1840, and it really yielded well. I don't know that we got the final results in on that variety, but it's probably, I'd say it's our better, or maybe our best nematode entry into the cotton variety world. Just it's a mid to full type variety. It's got it looked good all year. I looked at it several times, and Libby, I know I think we did some videos in that variety. From the first year out with just plots here and there, I was pretty impressed. And we got a lot of reniform ground from all over, from Mickey Diamonds to all through Atmore. If this thing, it won't lose as much yield in that high reniform dirt as some of the other ones. But so just something to, just those two, 2127, 2141 from the Delta Pine lineup, something to take a look at for 21. And we'll have more supply next year.
So our next speaker up is going to be Russell Nudie from Phytogen, and after him will be Tim Moore. So you two guys get ready. But
okay, good morning. Most everything we're talking about with Phytogen for Florida, we'll have the W3FE trait package, which is Wide Strike 3, and that's Roundup Ready Flex Enlist. That gives you tolerance to the Enlist herbicide, which is 2,4-D choline, and it also gives you full tolerance to Roundup and Liberty. So very good weed control package. The other thing that the W3FE trait platform gives you is resistance to bacterial blight across the board. So all of our varieties are bacterial blight resistant. Everything we're selling currently is also root knot nematode resistant. And we're excited this year to bring you two varieties that have reniform resistance in addition to root knot nematode resistance. Once the slides get up, we'll talk about those specifically, but we did a lot of testing in the Atmore and Jay area last year. We know that's a pretty hotbed for reniform nematodes and had some very good results over the past 2 years. So I guess we could start on the top slide, the first one, and we'll jump through the varieties. There we go. All right, so let's talk about the varieties specifically. On the right of this slide is our variety list for 2021, and it's listed from early to full maturing. And our early varieties are the 300 series. Our mids and mid to fulls start with a 4, and our full season varieties start with a 5. I'll just talk about a couple of them specifically. 400 has been a core variety for us. It's done well in many areas. I think in the last 2 years in Mickey Diamond's plot, it's been #1 as far as yield. We're excited that it's been stable and high yielding there. Another variety I'll talk about would be Phytogen 500 and 580. Those are both mid to full and full season varieties that fit a dryland acre very well, also fit an irrigated acre. Libby wanted us to mention PGR use in all of these varieties. Most phytogen varieties respond really well to PGRs. They're going to take that dose and respond and give you some good activity. But to give you a little bit of a insight to which ones respond more versus which ones need more attention, I'll let you know 400 is very easy to manage, which to me means I'm going to let it get some plant size to it before I introduce any PGR into the system. So I want to see the row starting to close. I want to see a decent sized plant, especially on dry land, and you probably won't get behind with 400. 1 or 2 shots in most cases is all it's going to take unless you're in a pretty high-powered field with that variety. One of the new varieties that we're excited to have for you this year is 443, and that variety is a similar maturity to 400. It's a true mid, but it's going to be a much more aggressive plant, and it's going to take a little bit higher rates and maybe a little bit earlier application of PGRs from the start to get its attention. So if you got a sandy field that you have trouble getting a stock on, 443 would be a good choice. And we talked about the 2 new Reniform resistant varieties. 332 and 443 are those 2 varieties. So you can write those down. They're both going to be pretty similar in maturity to the 400. 332 is a little bit more of a stovepipe type plant. It's got a little bit better fiber quality, and I'd like to see it planted maybe mid-May onward in that part of Florida. I won't talk about every variety here, but the ones that have been good to us over that way have been 480, 500, and 580, and a new variety, 545. 545 is going to be a full season variety similar to 580. On dry land, it performs similar to 580. On irrigated is where it really shines. It's got some high yield potential that we hadn't seen in a while on a good irrigated acre with phytogen. So we're excited to have that for the irrigated areas. I'm going to talk mostly about the Reniform technology that's just come out. We're excited to have that for you. If you look at the top left portion of this slide, you see some yield data, and that's across the U.S. It's a little over 200 trials in non-Reniform locations. And one of the things that is a perception is that varieties with resistance to certain diseases or nematodes may have lower yield potential than other varieties. And we're comparing this new 332 to 443 against 2 very well proven varieties, Phytogen 400 and Deltapine 1646. And across the board, you see they compete extremely well. As I mentioned earlier, we had several trials in the Atmore and Jay area this year. I'm showing you 2 of our innovation trials that we had that included competitive varieties. And both of these locations had Reniform nematodes present. And you can see that Phytogen 443 led in both of those trials. So very good results despite the weather they went through. I think it's pretty obvious we'd have had much higher yields if we didn't have 2 hurricanes over the top of that. So if you don't mind, let's advance to the next slide and we'll talk about some other results. Thank you. As I said, we did a lot of demonstrations this past year, and it was a shame that we couldn't have more field days and get bigger groups together to show this, but we did our best to try and capture this in pictures. And you can see on the top left, those pictures were taken close to Walnut Hill, and on the left is obviously a susceptible variety next to the resistant 443. During the season, you can see huge differences in growth, and then at the end of the season, you see the differences in growth were definitely due to what was going on with that root system. On the right, that was close to Brat, and you can see from a satellite image, you can see 443 had a much healthier canopy compared to the 1646 around it, and obviously better early season growth. We've been preparing for this launch of these Reniform resistant varieties for several years now, and across the board from Texas to South Carolina through Georgia and Alabama, Florida, we've done a lot of testing, and we've seen up to 90% reductions in nematode populations when you plant these resistant varieties. And if you think about that, that's as good as planting a non-host crop or a rotation crop that's not susceptible at all to Reniform nematodes. So it's a pretty valuable deal to have cotton that is that resistant to Reniform nematodes. And in these trials, as I showed you on the previous slide, you saw we have yield parity with the current best varieties on the market outside of nematode pressure. But when we're in nematode pressure, we see up to 45% higher yield potential. And that's quite a big deal when you're talking about a couple of bales as your bar and you having up to 45% better yield potential. So one way that I like to refer to that is you're unlocking the true yield potential in some of these fields that you've dealt with for years and never really seen that full yield potential. To bring it a little bit more local, we did a bunch of end of season nematode sampling in both 2019 and 20 across Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. And you can see we averaged 67 to 68% reductions between susceptible and resistant at the end of the season. And that ranged each year pretty widely, but the high end of that each year was about 85 to 90% reduction. So we're excited to have this. We do have plenty of seed of both of these varieties, even though they're new. We've been preparing for this launch. So if you're interested, please ask us. Al Wright's also on the call. Dustin Harris is also representing Phytogen now. So that's all I'll give you today, Libby, and we appreciate you having us.
But okay, we're going to get started with Mark Freeman.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Libby. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. Mine's going to be short and sweet. I haven't got a chance to meet a lot of you guys. I'm new with Stoneville. I also cover Southwest Georgia as well as Alabama and the Panhandle. But another new guy is Brady Reynolds. He's not new to BASF, but Jerry Spivey finally retired and has moved on to bigger and better things. And Brady has filled his role for seed sales for the Panhandle and South Alabama. And I got his contact info and mine up there on the screen. So if you guys ever need any questions from us answered, feel free to reach out. More than willing to give you a little more data or help you out any way we can. All right. I just got two slides. We've got two kind of heavy focus varieties for us for 2021. First one's going to be Stoneville 4990 B3XF. Very consistent high yielder for us for the last 2 years. It was we had it out in 2020 as a commercial variety as well. So we've got 2 years of good data. It's performed very well in trials in Alabama. Did very well in Libby's trial and other trials in Georgia as well. Very easy to manage with PGRs. It tends to, I wouldn't call it a runt, but it doesn't want to, it's not going to be 7 foot tall either. So it's very easy to manage with PGRs. More of a mid than a full, especially in our area. It's going to be a little earlier in maturity than some of our other varieties like 5600 or 5610. And then it does have a 3-gene worm protection, which hasn't been a big deal for us, but you never know, it could show up like it has in other areas. Okay, the next slide is going to be Stoneville 5091 B3XF. This one will be new for us in 2020. Didn't have it out on any on-farm trials last year, so don't have any good data to show you outside of our internal stuff, but it was a very consistent high yielder for us. In my internal APT program, it was the highest yielder above 4990. So we're very confident that it's going to be a good yielder and a good fit for our area. Again, a good fiber package, good plant type for all soils. It is going to get a little bit taller than 4990 and put on 1 or 2 extra nodes, but again, it's not going to get away from you. It's not going to be a super aggressive plant type. It's also resistant to or tolerant to Ingenia or dicamba, as well as Liberty and Roundup. Same as 4990. And this one also has 3G and worm protection. But that's it for me. Looking forward to the rest of the webinar, and thanks to Libby and the rest of the UF team for having us on.
Thank you, Mark Freeman. And I think I told you we will be doing on-farm trials with Mickey Diamond, who is on here right now, by the way, in case anybody wants to private message Mickey. And also the Research Center, and Mike Mulvaney's on here, right, too, in case anybody needs to private message Tim. Tim Moore, I'm going to see if you're there.
Okay, I'm going to talk about two Dynagrow varieties that we launched in 2020. That being 3799 and 3615. And on the graphic here is the UGA on-farm trials this past year. And you see the performance we got out of these two across the 22 locations. They were in the top tier performers on average. And both varieties are B3XF, bacterial blight resistant. And the first thing I need to talk about is how aggressive these plants are. 3615 is aggressive. 3799 is very aggressive. It's not unusual for that thing to put on 29 plus nodes, and I've yet to see it in a plot since I've been working with it that it wasn't as tall as anything, if not the tallest in probably 95% of them. So early picks management, I have 3799 will not fruit until the 8th or 9th node. So therefore, early picks application on it is going to be even more important. And while I'm talking about 3799, I would not plant this variety in the last half of our planting window, especially in Southwest Georgia. It's full season, and the growing conditions we had this year pretty much across the whole area we're covering with this meeting. 3799 made a lot of yield in the top third of the plant for a lot of people, especially in Southwest Georgia, where we had 3 weeks that we didn't see the sun and just tremendous amounts of boll rots. I've been in Southwest Georgia cotton for going on 40 years, and we always have boll rot, but I've never seen it any worse than it was this year. You get to middle Georgia, on into East Georgia, it wasn't near as bad, thankfully. These two varieties are sister lines. They're going to have a lot of the same characteristics, but then they have some that you will note once you spend a little time with them. 3615 is, if I had my preference, I would not plant it dry land. I know in some areas that's not an option, but 3799 is going to be a lot more stable under stress. I can't oversell 3799 because we're sold out of it as of about 2 weeks ago, and close to being sold out of 3615. So that doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means I don't have any more to send to my locations. Again, their best fit is going to be in high yield environments, whether that's dry land or irrigated. A lot of varieties, if you get down there 800 or 900 pounds, perform pretty good, but these varieties perform best for us in high management situations. If you'll change the slide, Libby, this is that same set of data, but where you take the high yielding locations and separate them from the ones that have a lower average across all varieties. And you see what 3615 does when you put it in those lower yield environments. It goes from, it was still in the top tier, but that's just one of the nuances of that variety. And one reason I say that I definitely don't want to see it in a stressful situation. The other things I'll point out, the vigor on both of these varieties is unmatched. Seedling vigor, early season growth. For that reason, you really need to manage your population with both of these varieties. 3799 a little more so than 3615, but if I had to paint one stroke and talk about plant populations, neither one of these varieties will benefit from a final stand of more than 2 plants to the foot on 36 or 38-inch rows. And invariably, when I do plots and the farmer tells me, well, I planted 32,000 and I go do stand counts, 99% of the time, he's got at least 2,000 more plants than he says he planted. So I point that out just to say, you're going to magnify the need for PGRs the higher you push those populations. Another thing we noticed this year, plots around Atmore that took all of that storm damage, both of these varieties have excellent storm tolerance. And that's another reason that they performed as well as they did in some areas. With that, if anybody has any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. My cell phone number is 229-254-7094. If you contact your local Nutrien rep, they can put you in touch with me.
So Tim Moore, apparently you're trying to break my spirit too by talking about storms around Atmore. First it was nematodes, now it's storms, but this is still the land of Eden. You're gonna have to get with me on this, but thank you very much for that presentation. We really did appreciate it. Our next person is going to be Ray Hollis, and Ray Hollis is going to be, he's from GreenPoint Ag, which has recently changed his name. I think he's gonna tell us more about that. So Ray, are you around and want to talk to us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm Ray Hollis. I'm with GreenPoint Ag. We were Agri FC. We merged Winfield, GreenPoint Ag, Agri FC, Tennessee Farmers made a merger, and we have a big footprint now, actually going out into Texas, up into Missouri. Just a bigger company. And I am actually partnered with Winfield on the seed side, which we did have cropland cotton seed last year. This year it is called Armor Seed. I'm going to talk to you about 3 varieties. The first one is 9210. It's early mid. It would be a great cotton to plant behind wheat. It's medium tall. So the later you plant it, the more pigs you'll have to put on it. Just kind of watch it. If you plant it real early, you can get by with a little bit less pigs. The second variety, which is shown well in our plots down there, is 9608. And both of these are about B3. It's a mid-season variety. Your moderate plant PGR on it. It's a high yielder. The lint percent is around 43%. It's a good grader. And the last one I talked to you about is old Workhorse 3085. It's a B2. It's been around for about 5-6 years. It's good irrigated or dry land, but it's a great tough acre cotton. And it's been a pretty good one for us. My phone number is 334-791-1686. I live in Dothan. I just started covering that area over that way 1st of January. And you can get a hold of me or get a hold of one of your local co-ops, Alabama Farmers Co-ops, or a GreenPoint Ag retail location. And I do thank you for setting this up today.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to say War Eagle to you.
War
and
Eagle.
I think I see that, and I see maybe an Easter
Yeah.
basket behind. Hey, let's accept all the holidays right now. I'm down with this. So thank you so much, Ray. It was nice talking to you. Our last person, but not our least, is Robbie Tabb, and he is with Americot, Next Gen Rep. He is over there towards Jackson County. So you Jackson County folks are going to recognize him. Our person out here is Mike Wood, and he could not be around today. So we're going to forgive him for that. But we know that Robbie Tabb is going to do a fantastic job. So Robbie, if you can unmute yourself and chit chat with us a little bit, it'd be great.
Okay. Thank you, Libby. Am I coming through okay now? Okay, thank you. My name's Robbie Tabb. I cover Southwest Georgia, Southeast Alabama, and the eastern part of the Florida Panhandle. I'm going to talk to you today about our 2 premier varieties in 5711 and 4936. I'll start with 5711. This has been our top seller in the southern part of Alabama, Florida, and the southern part of Georgia for the last 3 years. This is a very aggressive growing cotton. This is the variety we position on that dry land or irrigated acre, but in that tougher, sandier soil, because it is so aggressively growing. It'll fit on any soil type, but it's best in sand and stalk challenge soil. Has an aggressive growth pattern. The key to this variety is a pinhead PGR application. It is crucial for easier management. This is a variety that's not about how much PGRs we put on it, but it's when we put that first application on. And it's not a very heavy application at pinhead, but you know, an 8 to 10 ounce application at pinhead is crucial for managing this variety, especially in your better soils. It's very stress tolerant. The exception is heavy rain events. 20 was a bad year for this variety. It is a mid to full. In 20, it acted more like a mid. But you know, in different situations, it can act more like a full. We plant this variety from April. I've got guys that plant it on into June, but we don't like to see it planted that late. Has excellent storm tolerance as well. But this is a good variety for us on that sandier, lighter soil acre. Our next one is 4936. 4936 is good on irrigated or dry land. This is a mid, an early mid that we like to see on that better, more productive, high yield environment acre, that high yield irrigated acre. It's easily to manage as far from a PGR standpoint, but this variety can get tall. It's just not one you have to hit so early. Want to get a little stalk out there, and then we hit it a little bit later. This variety will string out on you, but it has a better than expected storm tolerance. This is an early mid that can be double cropped. So where we've been in my territory, we've been planting 3522 as our double crop variety for the last several years behind wheat. And 4936, I believe, is one that'll take that place as a B3 with better yield potential. Has great heat tolerance, and I think it's going to be probably one of our top sellers this year. I'd like to mention those other two that we still have, the B2s. 5007 is still out there, still available as a B2. It's a hardy cotton. It just keeps going. It's just a good yielder, very consistent variety. And then 35, we have a lot of guys who still like that variety, and it is still available. I want to mention very quickly our two new 21 varieties. Starting out with NG 5150. It's a Bogard 3. This is a full season variety. We did not, because of the weather we had in 2020, just did not get the look that we would like to have as far as testing goes. We're going to continue to test it. It's actually released and available to purchase, but we want to continue to test this variety across the territory in 21. It is a full season, aggressive early, but it's easy to, it slows down and gets easier to manage, but it has a thick canopy. Like I said, we just didn't get a good look at this variety because of the weather patterns we had this year, and we'll continue to test. The last one I want to mention is a new for 21. It is NG 3195. This is an early. This variety looks very impressive. In 2020, it was tops across all varieties in our ACE trial, and it is an early to mid. So this is one we're going to be really watching in 21 and testing again and looking for big things out of it. Again, I just want to thank you, Libby, for allowing us to be here and for this platform. And we just thank you. And if anybody would like to contact, you can. All of our rep contact information is on our website at americot.com, or you can contact me. My mobile number is 229-809-0188. Thank you.